If there is one practical thing that Democrats can do right now that would help them regain power, it's never speak to Trump in person. No, I'm kidding. That's stupid. No, it's this. Inspire your moderates to vote in the primaries. Get that base excited. You have the numbers. After Congressman Moulton made his comment about his daughter not getting run over, he added, "But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that." Well, then change what you're supposed to be afraid of.
The DNC is in chaos, and Maher isn't holding back. You'd expect a party with no leader, no vision, and no message to earn Maher's pity, but no, he's torching them instead. The sharp-tongued host of Real Time with Bill Maher ripped into AOC and the Democrats for ignoring hard lessons from their last crushing defeat, and it was pure fire. Let's dive in.
People ask me all the time, why haven't you ever had Hillary or Bill Clinton on? Why didn't you have Kamala on during the last campaign? You think we don't ask? We ask these people every week. They say no. It took 8 years and a petition to get Obama on. And these are people, all people I voted for. Think about that. They're afraid to come on the show of a guy who voted for them.
Maher kicked things off by lamenting how the very party he stood by, supporting them with his vote, his wallet, and his influence, has sidelined him for years. Despite being one of their most prominent cultural allies, they've consistently avoided his platform. He's invited them multiple times to appear on Real Time with Bill Maher, yet they never show up. Why? Because they're terrified of tough questions and unwilling to defend their fragile stances against real counter-arguments. Instead of embracing open debate, they retreat into their echo chamber, proving Maher's point that the left has grown soft, insecure, and intellectually lazy. But what about the Republicans? Are they scared too?
The Republicans? They show up. And when they do, they take their beating like a man. You went down to Mar-a-Lago and kissed his ass after that.
Oh, bullshit.
When the Mueller report came out, I feel like you mischaracterized it, and I feel that was shady. But you campaigned for election deniers in 2022. This I do not forgive. The Republicans, including you, January 6th, etc., are the ones who are no longer willing to play by the rules of democracy. Amendment 22, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. And yet you keep talking about Trump's, maybe you should have this. Here,
Of course, Republicans have had their share of comebacks, some sharp, others clumsy, that likely landed blows on Maher himself, but that isn't the focus of this clip. The real point is that win or lose, Republicans actually show up. They sit across from Maher, take the heat, and engage in the debate even when their arguments fall flat or lack polish. That willingness to step into the ring, despite knowing they might stumble, demonstrates a level of grit and accountability. Unlike their Democratic counterparts, they don't hide behind safe spaces. They face the fire, and that in itself speaks volumes.
I would love to have AOC on the show, and Mondami and Elizabeth Warren, but I can't subpoena the guests. And I can't fix that what the Democrats are scared of more than anything else, I mean, obviously besides gluten, is being primaried from the far left, even though most Democrats are not far left. They're mild-mannered and moderate, at least in my bathhouse.
It's no secret that the far left is driving the woke agenda, but what's truly alarming is how much louder and more influential they've become than the entire Democratic Party itself. Instead of standing firm on principle, the party bends and panders to every demand, no matter how extreme. It's as if the Democratic National Committee has surrendered its backbone, choosing appeasement over leadership. The result? A spineless institution more concerned with pleasing the loudest activists than serving the broader American people. What the party desperately needs is not another figurehead bowing to the mob, but someone with the courage and conviction to finally say, enough is enough, and push back against the far left takeover.
If there is one practical thing that Democrats can do right now that would help them regain power, it's never speak to Trump in person. No, I'm kidding. That's stupid. No, it's this. Inspire your moderates to vote in the primaries. Get that base excited. You have the numbers. After Congressman Moulton made his comment about his daughter not getting run over, he added, but as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. Well, then change what you're supposed to be afraid of.
What Bill Maher is pointing out couldn't be more accurate. Over the past few years, many moderates within the Democratic Party have quietly drifted toward the political center, or even to the right. These are people who once proudly called themselves Democrats, but now feel alienated by a party increasingly dominated by the far-left agenda. The truth is, many of them wouldn't mind returning if the Democratic National Committee could find the courage to distance itself, at least partially, from the ideological grip of the woke fringe. Yet, instead of standing up and reclaiming balance, the party tiptoes around the far left as though it's walking on eggshells, terrified of the inevitable backlash and censorship that comes with defiance. Until the DNC decides to divorce itself from this extremism, moderates will continue to stay away, leaving the party trapped in a cycle of pandering and fear-driven politics.
Do you think that he would have the power and influence to be able to, like, usher in socialism?
He definitely has the power and influence to elect J.D. Vance or whoever is the Republican candidate next time. It is a walking commercial for the Republican Party nationally.
I think the Republicans are going to...
When you let the Democrat socialists, and now they're actually calling themselves socialists, when you let them take over a major American city, this is what you get.
So let's break this down clearly. Here's what Bill Maher is really saying. If the Democratic Party were to present Zohran Mamdani as their standard bearer heading into the 2028 elections, they might as well hand the victory to J.D. Vance on a silver platter. Maher argues that Mamdani's brand of woke socialist policies could indeed find an audience with Gen Z voters, who often lean toward radical change and progressive ideals. But the problem is generational math. While Gen Z is growing in influence, they aren't the largest voting bloc. Millennials, Gen X, and especially baby boomers remain dominant at the ballot box, and Maher believes Mamdani's rhetoric won't win them over. In fact, it could alienate them further. The message is blunt: betting the future of the party on a far-left figure like Mamdani is political suicide, a gamble that would all but guarantee a Republican victory.
If you're engaging with a psycho who all they care about is controlling you, they're very good at diagnosing problems. Yeah. They're very good at figuring out what your weak points are. And that's, I would argue, what a lot of these people are doing. That's right. They recognize that if you can focus on these problems, then you can, use that dissatisfaction to gain power for yourself.
Right. To me, Mamdani isn't offering leadership. He's exploiting frustration. He takes advantage of real lapses in the system, not to fix them, but to weaponize them, stirring up anger and resentment. Instead of presenting thoughtful, practical solutions, his rhetoric compounds the very problems he claims to fight against. It's the classic playbook: point fingers, inflame emotions, but never actually solve anything. And let's be clear, socialism, no matter how attractively packaged, has never delivered prosperity anywhere it's been tried. Yet young voters, many of whom haven't lived through or studied its failures, are swept off their feet by Mamdani's promises. They hear ideals dressed up as progress, but ignore the far-reaching consequences: economic stagnation, loss of freedoms, and deeper division. Mamdani isn't leading a movement toward solutions. He's selling a fantasy that history has repeatedly proven to be dangerous, all while the youth cheer without asking the hard questions.
This must be horrible for a guy like you, who you spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much. And here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah. I think every 20 years or so.
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again.
Well, some of us have studied history and know exactly what socialism brings in its wake, and we're not eager to relive those consequences. So no, we are certainly not praying for Mamdani to win. Quite the opposite. Our hope is that more Democrats will open their eyes before it's too late and recognize the damage his leadership would inflict if he were ever voted into power. The warning signs are already there. Policies that sound appealing in theory but collapse in practice. Promises that stir emotion but ultimately weaken the very foundations of a healthy economy economy and free society. What we're really praying for is clarity. Clarity for voters to see beyond the lofty slogans and flashy rhetoric, and to understand the long-term harm hidden beneath Mamdani's platform. If Democrats truly care about their party's survival, they'll stop him at the ballot box before he drags it into ruin.
Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess. So, you know, when the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both. That's socialism.
On paper, socialism might look appealing, a utopian idea where everyone supposedly shares equally and no one is left behind. But in practice, it has always proven to be far worse than capitalism. At least with capitalism, despite its flaws, hard work, innovation, and determination often lead to rewards. You have the chance to create, to earn, and to build something for yourself and your family. Socialism, however, flips that promise on its head. In reality, it creates a system where the so-called equality is nothing more than a smokescreen for the greedy elite to consolidate power. They take the lion's share, while ordinary people, no matter how hard they work, are left with nothing to show for their efforts. The result isn't fairness, it's stagnation, resentment, and poverty disguised as progress. History has shown time and again, socialism doesn't uplift the masses, it traps them.
Someone must tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you fucked in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses, we know they are stupid, just don't say it.
Unfortunately, that's exactly how the left tends to view the right, as a bunch of ignorant, backward people incapable of basic reasoning. It's a stereotype they cling to, a convenient narrative that allows them to dismiss conservative voices without ever engaging with the arguments. In their eyes, anyone who supports MAGA or holds right-leaning views must be uneducated, unenlightened, or morally deficient. And of course, they elevate themselves as the enlightened class, the ones who are wiser, more compassionate, and somehow morally superior. But history has shown that this arrogance is their greatest weakness. When you spend all your time looking down on your opponents, you underestimate them, and when you underestimate them, you lose. That's the left's blind spot. Their constant self-congratulation blinds them to the very real frustrations driving millions of Americans, frustrations that no amount of smug moral posturing can simply erase.
Yeah, I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person.
At the end of the day, the problem with the Democratic Party and the far left is not just their policies, it's their arrogance, their pandering, and their refusal to learn from history. From Bill Maher's warnings about the dangers of elevating woke socialists like Mamdani, to the alienation of moderates who feel the party has abandoned them, the writing is on the wall. Socialism may look good on paper, but in practice it has only empowered elites while trapping ordinary people in poverty. Yet blinded by self-righteousness, the left continues to believe they're morally superior while painting conservatives as ignorant. That hubris has always been their undoing. If Democrats keep bowing to the loudest activists instead of standing up for reason and balance, they'll not only lose voters, they'll lose the future. America needs leaders with courage, not figureheads afraid to say no to extremism. And on this note, we draw the curtains on today's video. If you enjoyed our spicy commentary, then hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.